a movie.
Ooh, okay. Welcome back to a brand new video in a new room, at least for this video, because I am dog sitting right now. But at this point, this is what I'm doing. We are going to be talking about Superman. Took me a couple of days just to make sure to get everything, all my thoughts in one place, on top of having a very busy week in general. So, thank you for bearing with me. I wanted to get this video out a lot earlier than I was hoping to. But either way, we got to talk about this movie. I will have to get this out of the way. This is my most anticipated movie of the year, period. I was very excited about this movie. I to pull a comparison that I kind of did for 28 years later with my video on that. I a lot of directing risks, I would say, that James Gunn has taken in his other movies have largely really worked for me. There hasn't really been a big time, at least in this section of his career, where he's really been messing up or just not really landing with me. The one movie of his that didn't really land with me is Super. I'm not a giant fan of that movie. But ever since then, he has been on fire. I really, really love the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy. I feel like that could be one of the best trilogies of all time. I'm not really sure if I would go that far. Actually, not yet. No, but at least in terms of comic book movies and just kind of action adventure movies in general, it kind of transcends that Marvel formula. Since it's a Marvel movie, those are Marvel movies, but it really transcends that of these are just good action adventure movies. They've got good heart to them, and I will say I've kind of toned down a little bit on the Suicide Squad, which I really liked when it came out. It is very James Gunn, although I've kind of learned about myself. And while I enjoy that, I am not a fan of most of his R rated stuff. I don't think. There's a lot that. I mean, it's still a good movie. I don't have any massive complaints with the Suicide Squad. But I got a little bit of fear going into this because immediately I did not think that. Well, I probably got to loop that. Yep. I did not immediately think that James Gunn would be a good pick for Superman. I thought it was a bit of a risk with going, oh, Guardians of the Galaxy, Suicide Squad. They have such this weird ragtag feeling, which I do like, but could he do Superman? Like the quintessential superhero, basically. And of course, we had a lot of conversations over the years of who's the best Superman. Obviously, we've had everything that happened with the last time DC tried to start their own cinematic universe. And and by the way, just to say if you don't know, this is a reboot. They are done with all of that. Just got to get that out of the way. They're done. But now we have something here that I think was a huge risk. I wouldn't have picked James Gunn to direct a movie and also write a movie based on Superman, but he was hired as the CEO of DC Studios, and honestly, I feel like he directed this movie because I think he knew that this had to work to get this going again. Get this jumpstart DC again. I don't think obviously he's not directing every movie. I am thinking about doing a video on what I want out of the DCU as this is being dubbed. But we're going to just focus on the one movie here. We're not talking about franchise stuff. We're talking about this movie, Superman. And I really liked it. I really, really liked it. There are some things that kind of threw me off about it at first. I'm going to just kind of go through it one by one in my head. If I missed something, I missed something. But I think pretty much across the board, everyone is cast really well in this. I think David Cornsweet, who I had seen in Pearl actually when that came out, and I didn't realize he was in that. I this guy did great, man. I love that we are actually getting some sort of emotion. I know it's a little bit controversial to say, but I think Cornsweet was able to get the emotion out better. He's a very dynamic actor, and Superman is a tough character to play, and he gets a lot to work with in this movie. Which, at least in comparison to Henry Cavill, he didn't really get a lot to work with. At least I don't think so. But I think Cornsweet got a lot to work with here, and he nailed it. In a lot of ways, I think he's going to be the quintessential Superman next to Christopher Reeve. I think he is just wonderful. The same thing goes with Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane. I feel like for any Superman adaptation, it's going to feel weird if you don't get Lois right, and because they are very much the heart and soul of these movies, and that's no different here. Although, and Brosnahan did great. Right when I knew that they cast her, I was like, oh, she's gonna be great, and she was. But I will say, I was kind of hoping that her and a lot of the other Daily Planet people would have a lot more to do later in the movie, but just they don't really, like, they kind of fade away into the background as the movie goes on. But I didn't mind that. The scenes that Lois was in was great. They had the interview clips that were going around right here. That was an incredible scene. Like, absolutely awesome stuff. And might be, at least in terms of writing, some of James Gunn's best work yet in that regard. And then we have to get to Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor. He is just dialing up all of this weird energy that he's bringing because he auditioned for Superman for this movie, did not get it because he's talked about this when he walked out of his audition and he saw David Cornsweet and went, oh, that's the guy. And I feel like a lot of that, I guess, it's not really jealousy in real life, but the jealousy of you're looking at Superman that has permeated Lex Luthor in the comics for a long time has really been distilled into this, and I think Holt really nailed it with this. And by the way, I don't think I said it earlier. I'm not going to spoil the movie in this. I may have to allude to a couple of things that are important to the plot of this movie, but I'm not going to outright spoil them. And that's because, well, I want you to see this movie. I really enjoyed this movie. But what I have to tell you is they make a big change to Superman's character in this. And there's one other thing that they've done this with Superman in, which I'm not going to say because that could also spoil it. But I've done it before. I was fine with it, but I know a lot of people that I've talked to about this movie that really this twist really threw them off. And I wonder if that's going to be the same with everybody. Obviously, I'm not going to spoil it just because, I'm not going to. But it's very obviously, like, it is throwing a lot of people off. I think it works for this iteration of Superman, especially within this movie. But I completely understand why people did not love it. I will say the rest of the characters are pretty nice, actually. I will say that's the main trio that get a lot of the same screen time. Pretty much all of the Daily Planet people are a lot of fun. I really liked Skylar Gisondo as Jimmy Olsen. The running bit they have with him was actually pretty funny, and I mean it got weird to a point, but the basis of that bit going throughout the movie was fun. I'm trying to think of who else. Oh, the Justice Gang. Mr. Terrific, Green Lantern, and Hawkgirl. I thought Mr. Terrific was great. The only reason why I knew him before this is because I have an entire comic run called Future's End, and that they did when the New 52 was going on. And he is a character in that, at least for a little bit, as well as his creation, Brother Eye, like the AI. And I thought that was a lot of fun. I also really liked Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner, the Green Lantern, a lot more than I thought I would, I'd say. I feel like he's like silently the MVP, to me at least. But obviously, there was like so much going on in this, which I'll get to that as well. But yeah, and also Isabella Merced as Hawkgirl. Wanted her to be in it a lot more. Actually, I really liked her. She was probably only in it for about 5 minutes. That's what I would like estimate, but I wanted to see more of her. I really liked her, and I guess this kind of moves into tiny complaints I have with it. Like it's not massive in the grand scheme of things. I don't think it affected my enjoyment of the movie. This moves at a breakneck pace. Once the movie starts, technically once the action starts, it does not slow down at all. There's like maybe a couple different scenes where you get to slow down for a tiny bit, but this is a 2 hour movie. It's to the point where I want it to be a little bit longer, and like not much longer, like maybe 10 minutes or so, just to like let things breathe a little bit, just because we are moving incredibly fast in this movie. And funny enough, I have to mention I'm a sucker for good world building here, and I think this does it very well. This is technically the first movie in the DCU across the board. This does not feel like a start though, and I like that. It feels like the best comparison I can think of is the Justice League animated show, or any of the DC animated shows, really. You could just put on any of those episodes. In my mind, I'm specifically thinking Justice League Unlimited, where you could just pull up any episode of that and just tune in and see what's going on. See what's going on with all the different guys. This is what this movie felt like. And I thought that was very refreshing for, comic book movies in general, that you always have to see an origin. You always have to see an origin for everybody. Like, literally everybody. And I think it's refreshing for this just to see, hey, this is Superman, because we all know who Superman is. His origins are being put into question in this movie. So that's why we're going back to it. It feels like we wouldn't have to know that if it weren't the plot of this movie. And I really, really enjoyed that. Like, we do not get full-on explanations of, at least for Green Lantern, I'm going to use that as an example. We do not get a full explanation of what Green Lanterns are in this. We really just go like, oh, this is a Green Lantern. He's just here, and he's basically a space cop. That's it. And he's just here. Same thing with Mr. Terrific. We don't really learn anything about him. We don't know anything about him. This is just the way the world is. Some people may not gel with that, but I thought it was really refreshing to just drop into this very fantastical world that really, I don't know, it really worked on me. It really worked on me. And again, it's fine to me because I know these characters, I know these comic books, I've read these comic books, but I am curious to see how someone who's not in the comic books, who has only really seen the movies, or someone that's just getting into this and would not know Mr. Terrific at all or something, that I'm curious to see how they would feel about this movie, because you do not get a lot of info about anyone that isn't really Superman or Superman adjacent or Kryptonian or anything. You don't really get anything about that. And I don't know. It just, there's a lot here that works. I don't know. I still haven't really put my finger on what's stopping me from going on and saying that this is really amazing, one of the best movies of the year. I mean, for me personally, it's up there. It's close to up there. I never really thought it was the best movie of the year. Really hoping it would be, though. So, basically, to keep that in the conversation in terms of all that, I am very satisfied with this movie. The complaints that I have are the complaints I have. Let me get that straight. I feel like a rewatch could fix that, especially since I would be getting into the wavelength of this movie. I'm gonna pause this and take down the copyright. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, as a DC fan, as someone who's really been waiting for the one big movie that happened that, like, the Suicide Squad should have been that, in my opinion, but that was a COVID movie. But this is the one. I know that on my old channel I talked about The Flash and I really liked that. We're not talking about that one though. We're talking about Superman. We're talking about this one. This is the one. This is the one that I think is really going to bring back DC in the film space. Because I think this is really going to get a good reception. I feel like this is going to flip the reputation that Superman had ever since Man of Steel, which I get that people like that movie. I like Man of Steel. And I flip-flop on Batman versus Superman. But there's no denying that when those movies came out, they were pretty polarizing, especially with its depiction of Superman. And it really turned off a lot of people to the character, at least at that time. I think this is going to have like a pendulum swing effect and get him back in that direction. I really think this movie is going to be a hit, and I'm very happy that this is probably going to be a hit. I don't know if this is going to make $1 billion or anything, but why would I worry about that? We have a good movie. Everything's probably going to move forward with this, and I'm very glad that the start of it was really good, and I was satisfied with it. So I think I'm going to give Superman an A-, which I gotta admit was really hoping for an A, but I gotta be honest here. Because I'm going with A- because there are very, very tiny things that just did not click with me about it, and I mentioned that. Maybe that'll change once I rewatch it, but overall, I am really, really satisfied with this movie. I know this is like the phrase, but DC's back. Like we can say that now, right? DC's back. Like we're good. Okay, we're good. We can agree on that. Okay, and that is gonna be the end of the video.